Hello and welcome to Tell Us Your Effing Story, a BDC Partners podcast. BDC Partners is a leading franchise and retail advisory firm. Our podcast is by franchisors for franchisors, where we go behind the scenes with some of the most interesting and leading characters in the franchise industry. I'm your host, Bruce McFarlane, my co-host, John Sully. And this is our first brother team, podcast. So we've got Josh and Damian, the co-owners of Bubba Pizza. Welcome, guys.
Welcome, thank you. Thanks for having us. We're the Brotherhood.
Good
to be here. Yeah.
Brotherhood. Righto, brothers. Tell us your fucking story.
Okay, so it's effing story, meaning franchising story.
Okay.
So we don't want to hear your fucking story. We just want to hear your franchising
I hope you're not
story.
offended by that. You're okay?
No, I'm okay. We can handle it.
Yeah. So, we're going to go
spirit.
back a little bit, So tell us, obviously brother team in a business today, but let's go back to when you were kids and you were punching on in the backyard. And what did you enjoy doing as kids? We'll start with
me. So Damian and I are actually 14 months apart in terms of age. So growing up, we grew up as sort of twins, I guess, really. Dressed the same, did the same.
Your mum put you in the same clothes.
She did. She loves it.
It wasn't hard. We all wanted Ninja Turtle clothes.
Yeah.
So where'd you grow up?
So we moved around a fair bit until I was about 5 or 6 years old. Our father worked for Coles Myer and went in between different head offices and wherever the role was around Australia. We were in Sydney.
What
Adelaide.
was he doing for Coles?
The last job he had was fresh produce procurement. So I think that was a national role as well.
Okay.
So yeah, he moved around. That was the
Big
last
job.
one he had. Yeah.
Big
it was a
job.
long time ago, but I'm pretty sure that was the job he was doing.
Was he state manager of Bilo?
That was another role, yeah. But
Yeah.
the last one was that
Yeah, right.
procurement
We
for
got
the
right
fresh.
up there then. That's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
impressive.
Yeah. He started from stacking shelves, so the old school way.
Yeah.
Dropped out of school when he was 15 and got a job and just kept working at it. And
So you spent a bit of time in Sydney and Melbourne?
look, we were very young. We
Yeah.
were very young, so we moved down to Perth, Sydney, in Melbourne, born in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And then we sort of ended up in Adelaide Hills early 1990, and we did our primary school years there. So our sort of formative years were in the Adelaide Hills, and then we moved to Melbourne in 96, and we've been here ever since.
Yep.
So
And did your mum work? Was she doing anything or was she looking after you?
no, she had 3 boys under 5, I guess.
So what's
she
the
was
order?
busy.
Where do you both fit in?
1, 2.
Nathan the Builder,
Nathan the
number
Builder.
3.
4 years younger.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Mum
Four-
was a
oh, 4
dental
years
nurse. 4 years younger than me, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, dental assistant, our mother was, before
Yeah.
having the kids. Yeah, and then, started working again when we were in high school, got involved with the business. We can get to that later.
And as kids, big units, so playing a bit of footy and basketball or what else?
Yeah.
What
Got into
did you
footy
play?
in the Adelaide Hills up
Yeah.
in Bridgewater. With massive Crows fans. But yeah.
You stuck with that. You moved out of Adelaide. You couldn't change.
I jumped to the Blues, so I'm a Carlton supporter. I'm a bit of a Carlton nuffy, actually.
Yeah.
So
big nothing.
shout out to the Carlton
Crippers,
supporters watching. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cripper will be listening.
Yeah.
Childhood was good. Mum and Dad were very social, so we were often at other people's houses. We'd play sport during the day, or we'd just climb trees. We were very outdoors, little kids. But then at night, we also had a very strong sort of indoor game because Mum and Dad would always we'd be going to someone's house, or people would come over and they'd be out drinking beer and having barbecues, and they'd have a big stack of movies for us. So we grew up on like Chuck Norris, Schwarzenegger, Van Damme.
Nice.
Star Wars, everything. So we just sat there watching movies till they would have to carry us into the car and go home. So very much outdoors, but very indoors as well. Big movie buffs.
It's a typical sort of country way, though. That's my memories as well from Wagga. Playing tennis and late night barbecues, all that sort of stuff. It's a pretty good way to grow up.
Yeah, it was really good. We still friends with some of those people as well, which is pretty cool.
So why'd they settle there? Did they have other family there or was it just
In Adelaide?
Yeah.
We did. So my father born in Aldgate, where we've actually got one of our stores.
Yeah.
And we've got uncles, aunties scattered throughout Adelaide. We've got a big family over there.
Yeah, okay.
So the Hopper family is from Adelaide, I guess.
Yeah.
The core of it. And then,
So he was in retail. So did you have early jobs working in shops yourselves or retail or?
in the pizza shops I did in the early days in, I think, late 1990. We had
Yeah.
something going very late 1990. So I was in there. That was the first job I had.
Yep.
Cleaning pizza trays and, forward-facing cans of drink and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
running out banes of boxes of cheese and packets of cheese to the pizza bar.
So is that when he bought started Bubba?
Yeah, so they were going to move to Sydney again, and that was after moving, I think, having 5 different primary schools by the time we were in grade 6.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to leave. I think it was going to be a big thing to leave again and go to Sydney. I think that he was going to work for the Sydney Council, so it was probably going to be permanent. So we didn't want to leave all our friends that
in Melbourne,
finally made from Melbourne in
which suburb were you?
Sorry, in suburb Wonga Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, out in the sticks. But then, no, he ended up taking a job with the lease and managing Parkmore and a couple of other shopping centres. And that's where he got into the Lebanese community and started to meet a lot of the shop owners. One of them had a pizza shop, said it was doing well, and he needed a bit of a chop out, and he wanted to sell his cafe and move into this pizza shop and start opening more. And that's when Dad bit the bullet and joined him and created Bubba, and that partnership lasted for I think only a couple of years. They did some restaurants. They did a bit of everything together.
Yeah, 4 years, I reckon.
And then they parted ways. One took the cafes, one took the pizza shops.
And where's the Bubba name? Where did that come from?
You can tell, Josh. He always says I get it wrong, but
Yeah, I mean, that 14 months, a bit old. I was there when it happened, that extra 14 months.
Mature.
It's still there. So Bubba means like father or elder in a number of languages. And so the original partner, Charbel, shout out to Charbel, his son would call him Bubba.
Oh, right.
And my mum's nickname growing up was Bubby. And so... And then Bubba.
Dad get called Bubba as well? At school?
No.
Maybe that's why.
And then and so they like the sound of that, Bubba Gump shrimp and things like that. If I can say that.
Yeah.
And it rolled off the tongue, and so they were like, okay, Bubba, let's call the first pizza shop Bubba.
Yeah.
And basically it was Charbel's little boy calling Charbel Bubba, and then it was a nice ring to it, and they were like, all right, Bubba, it's easy to say.
Bubba.
And Bubba.
Hey,
it's less cool when you say Hubba Bubba. Right?
Asshole. What do you think was his plan when he did that? What was he thinking? Do you think would he just have one, or was there global domination in mind?
Yeah, I think so. Not global, global domination. I think his dream was to eventually have a big B on the side of the highways like McDonald's, I think, just a big B for Bubba. But our growth was always in his plans. So they had the first store, and I think the story goes, once they paid all the bills of the first week, they were left with, $100 each or something like that. And then, as it went, it got slightly bigger. Like, the next week they made a couple of $100, and then it was like, right, we need more sites. And they opened, I think, 4 sites in a year in the first few years. A couple more after that, and they had 6 company stores, a restaurant in Toorak, and a cafe out in Warrendong.
Still in the partnership?
No.
Oh, this is just your dad.
This is Dad and the partnership. This is the initial days of it.
Yeah.
And then Roger wanted to grow. He wanted to get into franchising. He saw opportunity there.
So this stage, are you in the business by this stage?
Just as a kid.
As a kid, working
16. Yeah,
working in one of the shops?
Yeah, we're just following him around, I guess. On the weekends, we'd play tennis. We're big tennis players. And then I'd jump in the car with him afterwards and knew I'd get a pizza and a can of Coke and
that was good.
lollies
Life's
and
good.
stuff.
So our office was running out of the Croydon shop for a while.
Yeah.
So I was doing accounting at school. So I'd come in and enter some data or whatever for the bookkeeper and mum, who would work out of there. So we just do little shifts here and there. But we got trained by all the massive Lebanese culture in the Melbourne the food industry. A lot of those guys started all the Johnny Boys and all that back in the day, and they worked in different brands. But they taught us how to do pizza from a really early age, which is really cool. There was one guy named Wafiq. I think he might still be at Johnny Boys. I don't know what he's doing now, but we used to have big stacks of pizza trays like that, and the rack of pizza tray after you stretch it was in 17s, and he used to get this big stack of pizza trays and go and just feel it out how many trays. He'd go, oh, I think that's 17, and he'd pick it up, put it on the bench, and it would just be like perfect 17 pizza trays that he could now rack up. Like it was just like in their blood, those guys, and they were very, very cool guys, and they taught us in that sort of method, which is really cool.
So when was that? When was the first store? What, 1990 something or other?
I say it's 2000. He now says it's 1999, which
Right.
I don't know, but I 2000 is a nicer number.
Yeah, okay, 2000.
Yeah.
Officially
Sounds
2000.
better.
Well, look, so there was an original store. The original store was the original owner, Charbel, so he still kept that. So it's a bit of grey area there with having that shop.
So the
probably
first
99.
actual Bubba was Croydon, was it?
Lang Warren, Croydon number 2.
Right, okay.
Croydon number 2. So yeah, Lang Warren.
All within a space of a year or so, and Baronia and Lilydale. If you go back and look at the leases, it was all within a year or so. So you're studying.
Yeah, that's what I want to go
Well,
back.
I
So
would have been
jump back
16.
into these guys. So
Yeah,
so you're not you're part time in the business.
Yep.
So we'll do one at a time. So you went off out of the business.
Yeah, so look, going through high school, I was there 2000, 2001, I was in high school, do some shifts on the weekend, and they had us working. So they always had us in doing shifts in the company stores to
Family business.
yeah, like they're like, we were drinking cans of Coke at home and had flat screens at home. So they're like, right, well, you gotta
Go on
pay
it.
your dues. So we were doing that, and then I sort of finished high school, tried a few things, went to school, tried to do some education. I sort of always found myself coming back to working in the pizza shops and food. That's where I guess the passion is for me. Like I would just always come back to the pizza stores anyway. So I deferred studying, never ended up going back to it, went into the pizza stores.
What course did you get into?
It was just a business, like a business and marketing course at Swinburne,
Yeah.
So
Didn't quite make
I
it there.
did the first semester and then,
Hated it.
No,
got
I'm
out.
not an academic, let's just say that. I'm an ops guy and, got into the food service is sort of what I really enjoy. And so I did a few years at the pizza stores, managing a few of the stores, 2002, 2003. And then, look, to be honest, the parents saw that I had the passion for food and pushed me into doing a chef apprenticeship, which I did. And
With someone else out of the business. So
I started in the cafe,
Yeah.
and then I moved on. And after I'd done the apprenticeship, I went and moved on and did some other restaurants. Ended up doing the apprenticeship in the cafe because, the family business,
Yeah.
pay was good. And
So who did you
business
work
was
for?
going well.
And when you're out of the business, who did you work for then?
A number of people, not really notable. Maybe
Yeah.
the last chef I worked for, Pierre Codger, if he's around anymore. Big French. Codger, yeah, big French Algerian bloke. It was only for about 18 months, 2 years. So with him, good experience and all, but pretty demanding.
Pretty crazy. Like I know I worked
It was proper demanding.
in hospo. They're full on. To the
Yeah, so it was
chefs.
good to do to get the experience. But with the cooking, it was only ever to see how far I could go if I wanted to. The idea was always to do Bubba.
Yeah, okay.
You
So
know,
you always
always
had that in
come
the back
back.
of your mind. That
Yeah, I just wanted to
It
learn.
wasn't to be the next 5-star.
Bruce, I needed to know how to make a tomato sauce. I needed to know how to cook rice.
Yeah.
I needed to know.
Yeah.
So anyway. I went-
But you
went
spent a
into
while. So what'd you say?
Yeah, it was probably about 7 years.
Out of the
all in
business.
all. Yeah, a few.
Were you involved in the business at all during that
look, I
time?
was always involved doing my days off. Chefing
Yeah.
never paid so that well. So I was
Apprenticeships
always-
is tough. Yeah.
Yeah, so my days off were like Mondays. Typically, always had Monday off, so I'd always be in the pizza store on Monday doing a full day.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the folks to get a bit of extra cash in.
Big
So I was always in the
cashy
business.
on the side. Yeah.
Oh, look.
The tax office
Those
so
were
much,
the
man.
days. Those were the days.
Paying
So, so I was always involved in it. So I was always, in touch, even though I do my 5 or 6 days in the restauranting, and then if I had a day off.
Well,
I'd come
particularly if
back.
you're working your nights and all of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was always involved, and then probably about four of the years I was working for other people around. I was up in Arnhem Land for a year
jeez.
on a
Wow, that would've
resort
been
up there that's
interesting.
no longer there. It was pretty cool. Working like a big wilderness resort.
So what did you learn from all these other restaurants and businesses that you worked in that you brought back to Bubba?
Ooh, what did I learn? I learned you got to be organised if you're going to have a food service business. You're going to have a food business.
Fine dining, you got to get the in and out.
Yeah, you got to be organised. You got to prepare for 10 or 100 people basically.
Yeah.
Because the customers, sort of dictate, especially with what we're doing, when they're going to come in. There's no seating time for Bubba Pizza. The doors open if they're open at midday. You could get 1 or 5 or 6 phone calls straight away, and if you're not organised, you fall behind. Which I think a lot of food service businesses you see Google reviews and things, and you see the slow service, burnt pizza, and then the other reviews are really good. So it's organisation.
So for customer service as well.
Yeah, customer service. I mean, we've always, our father, right, used to tell us ever since we were younger that his gift to us was a personality. Right? That's a true story. That is fact-based information. So in terms of customer service and interacting with customers, it's pretty
Dad
easy.
was good at it?
Yeah, like we're happy to have a chat. Like, that's, especially
So
if we're
was he
serving
like a
pizzas.
good maitre d' type sort of personality?
I reckon mum's more.
Mum's the maitre d'.
Mum's more.
Yeah.
She's like very loud and friendly, and everyone's. She's got like 50 kids that she calls her kids. So like we always have big parties growing up. We got that from them as well. But everyone would come in and she'd be like their second mum. She's invited to all my mates' weddings still now, and Josh and Nathan's weddings. Mum and Dad are always invited, and it's because of both of them. So they're very, very big and social
that's
people.
good.
Roger's more the larrikin, and then Mum was
Roger's larrikin, and Roger's he's the manager. So in all these businesses, he was the control, the
Front of
manager.
house
He was
manager.
never cooking or serving people. Or
No.
cleaning
But so he
dishes
didn't have you've got the passion for food and
Yeah,
systems and processes and stuff, whereas he's
he's a people manager.
people
Roger,
and-
he's a leader
Yep.
in that way. So that's where he,
And Damian, you went
Sits.
down, you mentioned accounting, so you did follow the study for a bit longer, like the part-time jobs in the business and then working through. So went down the accounting path, so worked as an accountant for a while as well. How'd you find the study and the role as an accountant?
I learned nothing but studying. I think I went to 2 lectures in my whole course.
You got it. Did you finish?
First week.
Did you finish?
Yeah, I finished.
You got
Not
a
with-
degree.
not with flying colours, but I got my degree.
Yeah.
But I learned absolutely nothing at university. It was I would just cram in the information a couple of days before the exams, and then I would pass. So maybe I was good at doing that.
Yeah.
So I probably learnt to rush through things and cram some info
Get
into
the
my
job
head.
done.
So you're working
Yeah.
full time while you're studying? Pretty much.
I was working at the Croydon shop through uni,
Yeah.
and that was awesome because I made a heap of great friends through there. And it was in that sort of, it was only 10 minutes from home in Wonga Park, but we'd be out partying on a Thursday night, go open the shop and work from 11 a.m. till midnight, and then wake up and probably sometimes do it again, take a big bag of cash home to mum and dad, drop it on the kitchen table and never see it again.
Yep.
And then, so all that, so through uni, it was very much just a party phase, social phase. Nothing too heavy, but that was really good. But I didn't, and then after uni finished, I travelled. So before I wanted to go out and get a job, I got the travel bug. So I went over and bought a round the world ticket with a mate, with 2 mates, and we went to the USA, did 6 weeks there. Wasn't much of a cultural experience. It was, again, a nice big
were you
party
21?
experience. Yeah, I was 23, I think.
Yeah,
at
it's
that
handy
stage.
because not much good going to the US if you're under 20. It's a bit of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, exactly. So that was good. And we had
Did you work at all?
Yeah, we got a visa in Canada, so I lived in Vancouver, working at Sport Mart, which is like a rebel sport.
Yeah.
Initially, I was going to try and get an accounting role there, but
So you'd finish your
wasn't gonna
degree
happen. After the degree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great city. Vancouver's
awesome
great.
city, expensive.
Yeah.
We were in this little dingy apartment, paying probably 50% of our wage. But we had a really good time living there. But I met all these awesome people in the States, like French Canadians, everyone, all these Europeans traveling. So I had all these mates living up in Whistler in the ski mountains that I could go up and crash and
Do you ski?
snowboarded.
Yeah.
And so they taught me how to snowboard. And then, I'd go up there for New Year's and have free accommodation in like one of the most awesome places. And then on the way home through Europe, I had all these European mates that I stayed in their house. So I was away for about a year and a bit or something like that. And then I came home, and then Dad's mate hooked me up with a job at BDC McCarthy Partners, and I did 2.5 years there as like a junior accountant, and definitely wasn't my thing. I wasn't great at it, but that's where I actually learned numbers, spreadsheeting.
Handy for business.
Yeah, very handy. So that's where I actually learned something.
Yeah.
Other than like how to have a good time, but
you knew that wasn't you when you were doing it. Did it just not feel right?
Yeah, I knew pretty early on. Like I couldn't handle the boxed in this little booth for starters. Like it was just hard to contain myself in there. But I still had to try. I tried as hard as I could, and that's where I learnt numbers and Microsoft Excel. Profit and loss and, QuickBooks, I think, at the time and all that. So that I brought that back into the business. And at the time when I sort of like, this is enough. Like the writing was on the wall sort of thing. And I left, happily. And then that's when I went back to the business. I didn't plan on coming back. It was just they needed me, and they needed someone.
So what role was that first role? In a store, or
it was very loosely marketing and accounting. It wasn't much more than that. It was
be creative with numbers.
Yeah. Well, we didn't do sales reports back at that time,
Yeah.
so no one could really do much on Excel. So I would just start recording sales and building a spreadsheet, which is still this monster spreadsheet I got today. So I started doing that, and then obviously the accounts receivable, payable. And then because I was better on the computer, I picked up the online ordering, which was starting to come out of the woodwork at that time. I think that's 2012 or something like that.
How many stores then would it have been?
I think probably 12.
Yes. I think the 13th one opened.
Yeah.
I know the 13th one opened.
Yeah.
In late 2011. So
yeah. And then
13,
every year we'd open 1 or 2 shops, and we would open them and work in them. So I'd be doing mostly office work, and then a new shop would come up, and we would go out there.
So you're opening them all as company owned and selling them as franchise.
There was a couple that were signed up beforehand, but generally that was the model, was to open it up, get it busy, and then within.
And Dad's still active in the business now at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in,
When all these stores are opening and stuff. So he's like finding the new sites and stuff like that? Or
he's doing the landlord stuff,
the
franchising, legal, and working with franchisees.
So when did he decide to get out of the business and you decide to buy out the business?
So it's debatable.
Yeah. Let's say it does. It's debatable. Isn't it?
It's debatable. It was a long time for him to want to give it up and move out and move on. But I think he's just got that in his blood. The business, and we always talk about him, but it's not just him. It's mum as well. That was in their blood, this business, and it was their baby. It was their 4th kid. So. It was hard for them to give up.
So your mum was still in the business actively, or during this time?
Until probably pre-COVID, they were kind of in and out.
Yeah,
in and out of the
and
business.
you both knew that was the plan, that you wanted to buy in together. Like you had discussions and say, we want to do this together.
Yeah, well, he's got to put an end date on it. He can't just keep hanging on to it. He's got to plan his life. So
Did you ever think that Dad's never going to do this and we're just better off going to do our own thing, or ultimately we're going to stay in the business?
I think we developed the passion, and we didn't own the business, but we felt like we had owned the business as much as anyone.
Yeah.
Going from working in those early days to we, even when I was at uni, I went over and opened up the Allgate shop. Just sent me over there once the shop was ready to go. So we had we were part of the growth and everything as well, and the sort of boots on the ground. And in the last few years when they were in the business, we were the ones dealing with franchisees and all that. So we very much felt like we were it was part of us, whether we had any ownership or whatnot. That didn't really matter to us, but we wanted to keep seeing the business grow. Mum, Dad, they moved in, they were 70 odd, and a couple of health issues here and there. So it was, definitely their time to go, but it wasn't.
So was it official?
When was that?
February last year.
Yeah.
Oh, last year. Okay.
Only 12 months
And
ago.
so up until that point, mum and dad were both still involved in the business to some degree.
Yeah, I mean
Not physically.
they owned
Yeah.
it. There's no
They
probably hadn't
owned it,
been-
but they
probably
weren't
hadn't
running. You
been
were
in the-
running it.
probably hadn't been in the business for anywhere, arguably 3 to
Yep.
5 years, really
Yep.
actively
Okay.
doing
As
anything.
long as that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mum definitely. Yeah, because she didn't have to do it. She always did the payroll and different admin jobs. So that was picked up by Damian and bookkeepers and everything as we got.
And you've been
go.
pretty clear about your roles within the business back in the day. Like you've got obviously the passion for
Yeah,
the food, and
that was always the balance.
Yeah.
I think.
Good balance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it works out.
Mm.
No one wants to get too involved.
you
in the
don't
other
step on
person's-
each other's toes at all and make decisions that impact on the others. Is that you've had to play out through those dynamics at all, or no? It's all
Not really. We never really fought or anything like that.
we're more just making a decision.
No.
Like you think that he's doing a shit
No,
job of
no, I don't
marketing,
think anyone
or
takes
you-
anything personally.
Yeah.
Like, there's pressure in the roles and the jobs and franchising
Mm.
and stuff like that, especially the unknown since 2020. Like it's been
Yeah,
ups and
COVID.
down. Like it was good, but it's up and down and uncertainty and. No
what
one
did you
really-
get to? Like how many stores did you have? What was the biggest?
We had 23 sites
Yep.
operating maybe for a couple of weeks before the lease ran out and we had to move on. So
Yeah.
technically I think we had 23, but
2020, yeah.
yeah.
2020,
we had-
yeah.
we had-
So COVID was a bit tough. Like coming out of that, you had to close a few stores, or the franchisee were they company or franchisee or
It's a
combination?
bit of a mix. So
Yeah.
one lease the landlord just gave up.
Yeah.
There was one we tried to open up Fairfield in the thick of COVID on Station Street. Really good location, but just like opening up in lockdown just didn't work.
us, yeah.
And we ended up closing that one. One guy it was an ugly situation where we had to terminate for some very bad operational practices. So that was one that we couldn't. Usually we can bring them back to life, these shops, when something happens to them, but it couldn't happen.
So how did you find that? Would have been tough. Like, is that the first time you had to terminate a franchise or yourselves? Or
Yeah, as
Did
in
your
it-
dad because you
yeah.
said your dad kind of did the legal bits
Yeah.
before. Had he terminated
No, I reckon that's the first termination.
the first one?
First
And you guys did
The
it.
only one, really, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was ugly. That was
Yeah.
really ugly.
Litigation as well, or just
Yeah, so we went through,
yeah.
I think we had that's not litigation. So we went through 2 or 3 mediations.
that would be fun for you. Did you go too?
No, I didn't go. No.
And
no.
it kind of sparked. I think it kind of sparked a few other people that had grievances to get involved, and it just got a bit ugly.
As in other franchisees.
Yeah.
So he had a bit of support amongst a couple others.
Yeah.
And are they still in the network?
No,
Yeah.
they're gone.
So, yeah, so you've had to manage other exits as well. Was that through buyouts or because you still got company owned stores?
We've got one
Yeah.
at the moment, but no, some of them, most of them just sold.
Yeah, sold them on. There were a
Yeah.
couple of buyouts on the
They
way.
got probably close to their investment, most of them, and then new people came in. But I think pre-COVID there was a certain way that the business was operating. This is all pre-Uber, like still not all credit card sales, like high percentage of cash and everything. Franchising, employment penalties, payroll penalties, all that. So when COVID came, I think it was a bit of just all piled into one, and a certain way that you could run a business was no longer.
Compliance is not such a big
Yeah.
issue now, isn't it? And also, employment law, is employment law's just gone crazy, and obviously franchising law is changed a lot as well. And so you can't operate the way, and so you've got to bring, so how have you gone in sort of being implementing compliance? So I guess you're both across that to different degrees, aren't you? Probably more so from a food and quality
from
point of view.
operations. Yeah. I mean, that's always been there. Compliance has always been the struggle. Like, not struggle, but that's always been the hardest thing for us to do. I think getting them in line, and it's not getting them in line for 1 month either, because if you don't follow it up, it drops away again. People have lives and things that go on that mean they drop off. I'm just talking from an operations position. Yeah, that's, as anyone would know who does it, it's ongoing. It's not just a 3-month program to get someone compliant and running their business properly, because if you leave them for a month and don't follow them up or call them or check in,
And you've learned a bit like that. So,
Yeah.
how to manage that franchisee journey and,
Well, I think being a family franchise and in hospitality, a lot of our learnings, unfortunately, has come from what not to do and learning from mistakes.
you got a few of those stories.
So like that, and they're really hard lessons, and you can't learn a whole lot of them because sometimes, like that incident in early COVID with this guy, it can unravel.
Your whole
it can
network can
swing,
come
swing the
brand.
business
cancer within the business.
from growth to decline, and a tipping point like that. Things. And that was very much a big learning curve for us. I think we still did the right thing. You got to terminate when we saw what this guy was doing in his shop. It would have damaged the entire brand. So, but things like that we learn from just from experience. It's not like there's someone from outside coming in and saying, no, this isn't the right way. We've always learned from it. We've tried to bring people in, but it's never really worked out. But so most of our learnings is from experience.
Cool. And what about growth plans? What's the plan now? You've got through the COVID period.
We've been steadying
steadily the ship. Yeah,
we've been steadying the ship for a long time, and we're not quite ready to go just yet. We're still just trying to get a bit of a solid foundation.
Yep.
Make sure everyone that we got in there at the moment is ready, is looking after their business properly, and then I think once that's ready, we can move on to the others. A part of our growth was always just go. When there's a franchisee ready to go, we'd just open the shop, and someone would buy it within a month or two. But your bottom 4 stores are the ones that you need that can come back and bite you. And then all of a sudden you have a lease fall on your lap or something like that. So that's probably another lesson as well, is don't just grow for the sake of
Don't just sign a lease because it looks like a good deal at the time, and do some analysis on it. Yeah,
well, we're big in footy. They always say, like before like a grand final, they always say, like when they're measuring each team who's going to win, they say you're only as good as like your bottom 4 in the team. So we probably should have, in hindsight, had a bit more of an attention on our bottom 4 and strengthened them up.
Well, it's right, isn't it? Any team sport. If you've got some pretty not so great players who aren't following the system or complying with the values or whatever it is, they might be good, but just not doing the right thing at the right time, you're not going to win the premiership. You're not going to be successful as a growing franchise network.
Yeah, you can. You won't win. So, yeah.
But I think that's most franchisors that are at that stage. They you're weighing it up. Do we eat tonight because I need royalties to live, or do we smack these guys around and get rid of them?
Yeah,
it's tough, and most people go that way because you got to look after.
Yeah,
your
you
family.
sort of turn a blind eye a little bit to some things that are culturally not aligned to what you're doing because you need the royalty stream.
Yeah,
but sometimes going backwards, it looks like you've had to go backwards because of some of the things that have happened, before and after COVID. So the business is in a better place. And obviously the market, what do you see, in the franchise and retail market? It's been tough, like cost of living pressures, all the things that are happening. So, how are those challenges playing out for you guys in the business?
Yeah, you can almost pinpoint our sales graphs to interest rate rises. When people, every 6 months, people come off their sort of fixed rate, and you can see a decline in the sales. It's a big issue at the minute that we're working through.
So they're still buying a pizza, but not necessarily
just
twice a week or whatever.
That's
It's
it.
like
That's it.
or smaller order sizes.
Yeah, your side options, your chips and garlic breads and drinks.
Yeah, they'll drop all
not
that.
on the order.
They'll just buy the basic pizza.
They'll get a couple of pizzas and they'll make a salad or something from Woolies and have it on the side. And so the actual numbers are slightly down, but the basket size is definitely down a little bit, and definitely frequency.
Was last year the toughest year
I think so.
that you've ever had in the history from what you can remember of the business?
in terms of sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like we were up 3 to 5% year on year for a while, and then I I think once that sort of COVID honeymoon period finished, then that's when the interest rates started to climb, and then we always track the consumer confidence numbers or the consumer sentiment, and that's always the one driver, and that's pretty much follows our sales curve really. So looking for that to bump up over the next little bit, but in terms of opening a brand new pizza shop, it's going to cost you $300,000. And people aren't, like banks and that, aren't going to finance a business not a lot of businesses for that hasn't traded or anything. It's got
tough for greenfields,
like a greenfield, so it's tough. And in hospitality and in pizza, it's just a bit more risky, I think, for people to lend money. There's people out there doing it, that's for sure. There's always those people that can do it, but we'll have to just wait our time, I think. But we're just turned 40. I'm turning 40 soon. For a franchisor, we're pretty young.
Yeah.
So we've got to look at it like that.
No, it's great, and being obviously the learnings that you've got from inside and outside the business. But we're going to get to tips in a minute for emerging franchisors. But so I'll let you have a think about that. Oh no, sorry, I interrupt. You're going to ask another question.
No, that's all right. It's you've obviously you're shrinking to grow to get ready, but I'm interested about the sentiment figures. Does that just mean people buy pizzas when they just want a treat? Do you think?
I don't know, but in the yearly IBIS report, we always look at, it says it's the number one driver for takeaway expenditure. So when they're happy and confident with their bank account, then they spend more and eat takeaway more often.
I think these cooking shows have got a lot to answer for because people want to cook at home. I mean, fuck that. They should just be ordering pizza.
Barbecues should be banned.
Uni pizza ovens, you've got to stop that.
Oh, those backyard pizza ovens.
Yeah. Biggest competitor. People trying to cook their own bloody pizza.
Oh, they saw some sourdough recipe on bloody Andy Cooks, and they go try and make their own pizza.
Yeah.
Mate, don't do it.
Don't need to.
You sit down, have a beer, order online, and we'll deliver it to you.
Because Bubba makes it better.
You put the boxes
makes everything better.
Put the boxes in the bin once you're done. No cleanup.
Before your wife gets home, you get rid of the boxes.
Yeah. You got to do that.
So what about you've been a franchisor in the business for most of your professional careers.
Yeah.
If someone's an emerging franchise just about to franchise, or what sort of tips have you got for that emerging franchisor?
Tip from me, I guess, if I was to give advice, you'd want to prepare for I don't know if this is the right answer or not.
No, there's no right answer, and everyone's different.
Well, it's a bit of an emotional roller coaster, so be prepared for that. Like it doesn't stop.
Be resilient at the franchise.
Resilience. Yeah, I mean, there's good times and bad times. Franchisees won't often congratulate you on things that have been done well. Not often. You won't hear from them.
But when something goes when it goes wrong, they're going to tell. They're all going to tell you about it.
That might just be communicating. More building better relationships for us.
Yeah, so it's about relationships and about resilience.
But even that's one of the most important things.
Yeah, you can speak to them regularly, and there are good ones that will say thank you, well done, like this is great. But be prepared for them.
Short-lived.
Because it is a difficult relationship because we got to make our money off them. So. It's
they do well, you do well. So
that's right. It's not an easy one to get right. When you do,
of course it's always your fault if it doesn't go well.
For me, that's one thing I've learned. You can't get too down and you can't get too up. You got to sort of stay level.
It's a very unusual relationship, obviously, like sibling relationship, parent-child relationship, but franchises order franchisee, like they buy into it because they want to brand in a system, but then often you're doing the branding wrong, the system's wrong.
That's right. Yeah,
so it's tricky to keep. But if it goes well, everyone goes well. So, what about you, mate?
I reckon. So for industry like ours in pizza, where there's a lot of other independents around, is that don't sign agreements with people that want to buy a pizza shop. There's a lot of people that have bought our brand because they wanted to buy a pizza shop, but they didn't buy into our brand and what we wanted to do with our brand. They just wanted to buy a pizza shop that happened to be in that location. Oh, it's a franchise. Well, yeah, I'll just join them. That's a plus. So
that's in that hiring process, like recruitment, hiring, whatever, is making sure that they do understand your values and your brand values and all of those things.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I met Peter once from one of the original Crust owners, and he told me he always stuck with me. He said, when you start making money, don't be greedy. And I think he's a really awesome person to be saying that, the success that they had and selling at the right time and all that. He said, don't get because he said the time will come, just don't get greedy. So just always, make sure there's money going back into the business, or it's not swaying too far to the franchisor versus the franchisee. And we've seen that sort of play out over the years at our business, and it's definitely a big tip.
That's great.
Well done.
Well done, guys. Thank you. Thank you for listening to our BDC Partners podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard today, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks, gents.
Thank you,
boys.
boys.
Very good.